Welcome back. You're still tuned in live here on NewDay on TV3, and it's now time for the Chamber. Now, this morning we're looking at a very interesting topic, the policy on sperm sale. Now, would you donate sperm for cash? If not, will you support a law that aims to streamline its operations and make it legal? Today on the Chamber, we take a look at the legalization of the sperm sale and what the policy drafters should consider.
Sperm has become one of the hottest commodities being sold in Ghana and many parts of the world. Obviously, the target of this growing business is couples suffering from male infertility, lesbian couples and single women. These groups of people pay huge sums of money to access it. Sperm donation in a medical setting first took place at the Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia, USA in 1884. Quite how widely it was used during the following 60 years is unknown, but in 1945, Dr. Mary Barton, working in London, published the first modern account of donor insemination in the first medical journal. The response to her paper was almost universal condemnation. Around the world, politicians and church leaders called for DI to be made illegal. The Pope termed it a sin, and in the UK, the Archbishop of Canterbury set up an inquiry to call for Parliament to make it illegal. Although heated debates were held, this did not happen, nor was it made a legal activity. This gave it an uncertain status, and quite understandably, it continued to be conducted in secrecy. Some young men in the country have already sold some sperms for cash up to an amount of 10,000 cedis. Sperm selling is booming in many parts of the world. Recently, a San Francisco man has been named by U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) for selling his sperm over the internet after helping 14 women become pregnant. The 36-year-old man claims he's simply providing a free service to women who want to become mothers without going through typical sperm donation process, but authorities say it is a public health hazard.
Right, my guest this morning here to shed some more light on this topic is Mr. Abraham Amaliba. He's a senior legal practitioner, and he will educate us some more on the subjects. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sandra.
It's good to see you.
Nice to be on your program.
Okay, so sperm sale. Do the laws of Ghana say anything at all about the donation of sperm? Do we have any laws that govern it?
As we speak, there is no law regulating sperm donation or the sale of sperm. But I know there's a growing trend where people enter into contracts. So this will be simply two parties who have agreed and enter into a contract to engage in sperm donation or sperm sale.
Okay.
But as we speak now, there's no law regulating that part of our life.
Okay, so then it is not illegal.
Yes, it is not
illegal
because
to sell or to donate sperm.
Yes, because to say something is illegal, then
you'd have to contradict.
There must be a law that prohibits the doing of that act. So for now, it's not illegal, but it has not also been regulated by our laws yet.
So basically, people can indulge as they want. As long as you enter into a contract with somebody, you're allowed to sell your sperm, and you're allowed to pay money
to donate your sperm, and it will then boil down to the provisions of the contract. How to enforce the contract, and if there is a breach of that contract, then parties can proceed to court to have their rights enforced. But basically, as it is now, we would have to, as a nation, come out with a law to regulate that sector.
Okay, so since it is not a crime, that means that there can't be any punishment for it.
No,
right?
Yes, there can't be a punishment. They can't, because for something to be an offense, for you to punish somebody for an act, then it must be prohibited by law. And so you cannot punish somebody when
Something
that act is
hasn't
not been prohibited.
Okay, unless, of course, you a party breaches the terms of the agreement.
Yes, and that will now boil down to using the civil processes, not criminal processes. And so it is just to enforcement of the rights when they get to court.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, is there any attempt to bring out such a law or some kind of regulation for?
But first and foremost, let's look at the sperm donation, what it is in the first place. It is where a male decides to provide sperm for the insemination of a female. So basically, the provision of a male person's sperm, which is inseminated into a female, and these two persons are not sexual partners.
Okay.
They are normally not sexual partners. They don't know each other. So the purpose is to ensure that the woman conceives. And normally it is done when maybe the male or the female is incapable of, as it were, producing a child. So they go through these processes to ensure that they are able to procreate. So we'll be talking about the sperm bank. We'll be talking about fertility clinics. And in Ghana, you know, there are some fertility clinics already.
Yes.
So the law must now come in to regulate all these sectors, because to what extent are these fertility clinics doing the right things?
Okay.
Are the sperms bank up to scratch? Are they storing the sperms at the right temperature? All this, you need laws to regulate them.
Okay, and of course, we also haven't talked about the money that exchanges hands, how much money is involved, whether it's the amount is fair, and so on and so forth. Do you have any idea how much money goes into it?
It is huge sums of money, but it will be difficult to use the law to regulate that. It is about demand and supply, and so the law may not touch on how much you pay.
Even if a law comes into force, it won't specify how much money. That will be between the parties.
The parties, they will leave it to the parties. But what the law will be looking at, and very critically, is the issue of who has obligations towards the child. Two things will come up here: the biological father and the legal father.
Okay, biological father being the one who donates the sperm.
The legal father is the one who paid for the sperm.
Okay.
So,
but if I've paid money for the sperm,
yes,
then that's where your rights end, isn't it?
So you need a law. You need a law that will spell out this.
Exactly.
That if you are the biological father, you do not have obligations towards the child, and also you do not have rights to take from the child. So you need a law to differentiate.
So you think in the absence of such a law, you think that such problems have come up?
It's possible that
where maybe even someone might change their mind after receiving the money and say, okay, take your money, I want my child.
They might change their minds, and that is where sometimes the legal parents would have to run away with the children so that they don't find their mother or they don't find the father.
Not go to court?
When they are out of the jurisdiction, where can you find them? So you need a law that will spell out the rights of these two persons. You have the biological father, you have the legal father, who has responsibility towards the child and who can enjoy the benefits arising out of this relationship. So the law must come in to deal with this matter. And I'm thinking that the gender ministry should be looking up to this, and are here from the grapevine that they are doing something about it.
Is this something that you would be happy with?
Oh, yes.
Something you would push for?
Yes. You know that in our part of the world, childbearing and having children is seen as something which the society adores. And so if you have a childless couple, this is another way by which you can have them have children. But if a law comes in, it will help to regulate the whole system. And I will push for such a law.
Okay. And do you think such a law would be acceptable to all? Because just like you said, in this part of the world, Black Africa, you know some of the perceptions people have about people not having biological children. Don't say, and so on and so forth.
Again, you notice that in this whole process, the sperms are kept in such a way as you'll be able to deduce the characteristics of the person you are looking out for. So the lady who wants this sperm to be injected into her would go out looking for some features and characteristics. So he will say that, look, I'm looking for a thick, tall person, even the academic qualification
They are
of the
able
sperm.
to do all of
yes, they are able to take down the details. The academic qualification of the person is also included. So you want an intelligent person, you want somebody with a PhD. All those things are provided for according to the sperm. So
and
the
is this
sperm,
based on the characteristics of the biological father?
yes,
of
the biological
sperm?
father. So when you are going, excuse me, when you are going for such a thing, you'll be looking out for certain
But
characteristics.
does it necessarily mean that because my father is brilliant, I will be brilliant?
It doesn't necessarily follow, but you would want to try with something, to start with
At
something.
least you need a base.
something to be a base to
Okay.
start with. So, and after that, you can train the child to be what you want him to be or her to be. Yeah.
Now, another thing that you touched on that didn't quite sit well with me was about the money. You're saying that even if such a law were to come into force, it wouldn't specify the kind of money. At least, shouldn't they give us some kind of idea so that people don't necessarily overcharge or, because, some people may be so desperate that they'll be willing to pay any amount of money. And of course, there'll be people who would also want to take advantage of people who cannot bear children and extort them.
In that case, then the law must establish a regulator. The law must create a regulatory body that will even license these fertility centers. So when that body is in existence, then that body can now go on to then talk about the fees.
Right.
But if we are going to just regulate the facilities without a body and say that the Ministry of Health should ensure that these facilities are regulated, it will be difficult where you don't have a body established. Like we have the security sector. I mean the water, those utility regulatory commission. You need something of that nature to be able to regulate and fix the prices. If we do that, then I think they will be able to do the issue of the pricing. But the other issue you talked about had to do with whether or not the society would accept such children. I think that society would, because it will go a long way to reduce child theft in our hospitals. You notice that because couples are unable to give birth to children, they pay their way through, get some people and get them steal children for them. This would go a long way to reduce that. And so I am of the view, between the two, where you go and steal children from the hospital, this is a much acceptable way.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the insights this morning. Mr. Abraham Amaliba is a senior legal practitioner, and he joined us this morning to talk about a possible policy on sperm sale here in Ghana.